Section 8 of The Romance of an Old Fool. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Roger Moline. The Romance of an Old Fool by Roswell Field. Section 8. In the morning, before the family was astir, I wrote a note pleading a sudden and imperative call to town, and vanished for the day. I argued with myself that such a step was a delicate consideration for a young woman who, having listened to a confession of love a few hours before, would be hardly at her ease at a breakfast table conversation. Incidentally, I was not altogether sure of myself, although I was much refreshed by an excellent night's sleep, which comes to every philosopher with courage and strength to rise above the unpleasant things in life. If Phyllis had yielded to an emotion of grief, there was little trace of it when we met at evening. I fancied that she was somewhat paler, and her manner at times seemed a little listless, but otherwise there was no great departure from her usual demeanor. As for myself, the long sunshine of a summer day, and the conviction that at last the opportunity had come to me to play the role of a minor hero gave me a peace that amounted almost to buoyancy. No need had I of the teachings of the musty old philosophers reposing on my bookshelves. John Stanhope had learned more of life in a few short hours than all his tomes could impart. His books had helped him many times in diagnosing the cases of his friends. When John fell ill, they mocked and deceived him. Opportunely enough, Phyllis followed me into the library, and when at my request she sat on a little stool at my feet, and I held her hand and stroked her soft light hair, a pang went through my heart, for I felt that she might be near me for the last time. The philosopher had yet much to learn. For several minutes we were both silent. Of the two, I was doubtless the more ill at ease, although I concealed it bravely. "Phyllis," I said at last, "did you ever get over a childish fondness for fairy stories?" She smiled at this. Was I wrong in fancying that her smile was that of sadness? And answered, "I hope not." "Because," I went on, bending over and affectionately patting the hand I held, "a little fairy tale has been running through my head all day, and I have decided that you shall be the first to hear it and pass on its merits. And because," I added gaily, "if it has your approval, I may wish to publish it. Shall I begin?" She nodded her head. I could swear now to the weariness the poor child was so staunchly fighting, and looked off toward the sunset. "Once upon a time," you see that I am conventional, "there lived a beautiful young princess, on whom a wicked old troll had cast an evil eye. Now this wicked troll was not so hideous as the trolls we see in our fairy books, I must say that, but he was so wicked that even this deficiency could not excuse him. The princess was as young and innocent, I was going to say as simple, as she was beautiful, and the wicked troll talked so much of his experience in the world, and boasted so hugely of his wealth and generosity and other shining virtues, that the imagination of the poor little princess was quite fired, and she was flattered into thinking that here was a treasure not to be lightly put aside. And so, in a foolish moment, she consented to be his bride, and he took her away to his castle. I believe trolls do have castles, to make ready for the marriage. While the preparations were going on, and the wicked old troll was laughing with glee to think how he had deluded a princess, a handsome young prince appeared on the scene,